How do you get involved under pressure?
Well, nepotism. No, my brother was one of the founders of the festival back in '96. He was part of the crew called Urban Expressions at Dawson, and Sterling and Flo, who were the two main founders through this club at Dawson that was throwing hip hop related, graffiti related events. Started throwing jams and things like that, and then Under Pressure was born, and my brother was involved with that at the beginnings of that. And then I guess in 2011 or 12, I came on just as a general volunteer, but because of my knowledge of sound and plugging things in, I guess got pigeonholed into helping out with the sound more than anything else. And and then an unfortunate circumstance happened where in my third or fourth year, the person who had been booking all of the music, Sharon McGugan, had complications from a very bad flu and passed away. And it just so happened that that was the 20th anniversary. And I was asked to, or I asked if there was help needed, and there was definitely a lot of help needed. Sterling had the bright idea that we were going to try and contact everyone who had ever played the festival. So I went through 20 years of flyers and, made a spreadsheet with every DJ and MC that had ever played the festival. And I think I successfully contacted probably about 240 out of the 300. Uh, and ended up with like a ridiculous lineup of DJs, um, which then, birthed a third stage, uh, which, often it was like there was one stage that was open all weekend and then another one that would be open one of the 2 days. And I got it to the point where it was like three stages rolling all weekend long from start to finish. Uh, I always, throughout, whatever I did, I always liked to get as many people involved as possible, just because I wanted to please as many people as possible, but also because I knew that the power of each person kind of exponentially grows the promotion of any kind of event. So the more people you have on an event, the more people are going to be drawn to that event. Um, and so I would book pretty much a DJ per hour. There were some stages where it would be every 45 minutes there was a DJ change. Um, so there was some years in there where I'd have 80 DJs over the course of 3 days, and then God knows how many MCs on top of that. And yeah, it was very, very hectic. But yeah, so for the last 7 or 8 years, I've been booking, especially the DJs, because I handed off the MC booking to those who are a little bit more involved in the hip hop scene than I was. People like Olivier Barrault from End of the Week,
Yo,
and
all I know
Preach.
is when that worked out well for me one year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was actually the 1 year that I wasn't really involved at all. I needed to take a step back from my own mental health.
Mm.
In what should have been the 25th anniversary, I guess, 2 years ago, the first year of COVID. Um, and it was kind of because the festival was also going more into a digital format, and I really didn't have a handle whatsoever on this whole Twitch thing.
Bro, it
And
was
it was a gigantic learning curve for everyone. I didn't really see how I could be that helpful, so I felt less bad, kind of sort of taking a step back and letting someone else kind of handle that.
mm, that was a weird experience, man. I spent my whole life
Yeah,
being like, I want to rap at for phones, and there were seven people in the room in
yeah,
total.
yeah,
That was it. I mean, the internet saw it, I guess. That's cool.
yeah.
7 people. But I never went to Under Pressure before that because I was very terrible at going to things. Um, don't be like me, folks. Go to shit. It's a good idea. But what was it? What's the vibe like at Under Pressure? Like, walk us through like what a typical festival would feel like.
I mean, Under Pressure for me, especially, was always the one weekend where I could be certain that I was going to see everybody that I knew in Montreal practically at one point or another over the course of the weekend. And it was just kind of a big community celebration, people coming together for the love of hip hop, you know, and electronic, because there was always an undertone of electronic. A lot of people involved with the festival uh, came from kind of the same scene that I did. Some of them earlier than me too, through the early 2000s and stuff like that. So there was always a little bit of drum and bass here and there, or you know, you'd have some of the electronic DJs playing hip hop instead of what they were used to playing. Um, and then I kind of made it a point to have one of the three stages be more electronic based. Um, so it kind of brought together both worlds for me, and it was always a very strong community vibe. Just as far as the community in and of itself, but then also the volunteers and that core of people that makes the festival run. Everybody doing all the grunt work, even putting up scaffolding and ladders and whatever. Everybody that runs around all weekend with the staff T-shirts on their back, just doing all the little grunt work, closing off streets, security, everything like that. And all
like,
those people are
where
one big family.
Where was it normally located?
In the early years, they did at least three of them down on Guy and St. Catherine, where the John Molson School of Business is now.
Okay.
There's a parking lot there, and then there was an incident where a bunch of businessmen who I think were the people behind the John Molson School of Business started splashing paint on the graffiti walls to cover it up. And there was a whole big ruckus about that.
What?
Yeah. And then that's I think there was 1 year in between where they did it on Mount Royal. There's still kind of a graffiti wall kind of on Mount Royal, I think WDO or something like that. I think that was Under Pressure 4, maybe, perhaps. I might be wrong about this. But there was 1 year where it was there. And then ever since, it's pretty much been down by Fulton. And the street may or may not have been closed as widespread, but in recent years it's always been from Saint Laurent to Saint Elizabeth at the very least, if not a block further, and then the back street kind of around always closed too. Things kind of changed a little bit because Pride weekend ended up coinciding with Under Pressure a few years there, and so we'd have basically the whole Pride parade walking down St. Catherine once they were done, kind of thing, which was always an interesting clash of culture. But yeah, it's been where it is for a long time, and I'm not sure how much longer it's going to be there, to be honest.
Is it still there this time?
It is. It definitely is. It's going to be a little different this year. Still not sure exactly how it's going to go down, to be honest. Things have been delayed for a great number of reasons. A lot of them dealing with bureaucracy and the city and their inability to confirm funding or whatnot, because as a lot of people know, but a lot of people don't know as well, we don't have corporate sponsors. We don't deal with big corporations. In recent years, we've tried, and it just doesn't really work out ever. Nobody wants to give money to culture like that without some kind of massive show of visibility, which we're not really willing to do. We're not willing to paint a giant Rogers tennis mural or something like that.
Right.
Like another festival that will not be named, that may or may not have finished yesterday.
Listen,
refuse to sell out and
all I could say is I walked up Saint Laurent and my first thought was, yo, this be just a pop-up shop exhibition. Like, look, I'm not trying to be even critical. I cop merch. I'm not even mad at this shit. Okay? Not even mad at it. But that's what it felt like to little old me as I walked.
Yeah,
I mean, I know there's more to it. I really do know there's more to it. But as an ignorant first timer, because again, I didn't go to shit all of my life. I'm like, I'm gonna go to Mural Fest and go do the shit. And it was like, damn, really? We just walk it up and there's tents everywhere. You can buy shit, and occasionally you'll see a muraler.
yeah, yeah. Or if you look at a map, you can find all the murals from years gone by and stuff like that too. And I mean, credit to them, they've beautified that whole. Yeah, it keeps expanding. They beautified that whole neighborhood. It's great exposure
Yeah, no,
and
it's
a way to
gorgeous.
monetize art too. I mean, there's a lot of muralists that started under pressure that have gone towards mural because I mean, under pressure, you pay a small kind of subscription fee, I guess, kind of thing, where you're basically paying for your paint essentially, and you get your space on the wall, and that's how it is. You get your T-shirts and your whatever swag and stuff like that. Uh, so you're not paying anything above and beyond what you're getting in return. Um, but it's on a volunteer basis. Everyone who works for the festival is a volunteer, myself included.
Right.
And we do it for the love and for the community. Um, and I mean, mural has been a way for some of these artists, especially the older ones, to gain widespread recognition and to get their their names on and their art on bigger walls with more more views, I guess you could say.
So you're saying, okay, because like all of the murals in that whole part of town then are effectively just like Mural Fest on Mural Fest on Mural Fest with like
Oh yeah, yeah,
because I didn't even know that. Like, I mean, I noticed the murals. I've been like taking stories of yours. Now it's actually that's one of my TikTok runs is let me grab these murals all over Montreal, because it's like it's
yeah.
so ill.